Hey everyone, welcome! My name's Charlie, and today we're hopping back onto the island of Quinoa and playing some more Animal Crossing New Horizons. We've made a bunch of progress so far, but we still haven't gotten Lucky, my favorite villager of all time. And apart from this beautiful little campsite area, we haven't done much in terms of general decoration or villager house decoration. So, my goals for the next month were to prep for decorating the island by collecting items and planning a theme, as well as going on a villager hunt to try and get a new and hopefully good villager. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's jump right into it. To kick off the first day of the third month, I was subjected to this horrible sight, and although it may have deeply scarred me, it also ignited a passion to get some good progress done on Quinoa this month, and also hopefully remove Al. However, it just so happened that this day was the beginning of the museum's stamp rally, and I took it as an opportunity to relax and go through all the exhibits because I hadn't actually visited them yet. As far as I understand, during this event you walk through the museum and collect a stamp from all the different areas in order to earn rewards from blathers. The stamps aren't all that difficult to find, but there are some parts of the museum that I really love which I was happy to revisit, like the awesome phylogenetic tree that stretches throughout the whole fossil exhibit and this super pretty ocean exhibit. It was actually really relaxing and canceled out the horror that was Al's cheeks. I was feeling very at peace as I collected all the different museum plaque rewards from blathers, but in all honesty, I probably won't use them. Although I primarily want to decorate around the outside of the island, I'd also like to improve the decoration in my house, because as it stands, I basically only have this creepy room filled with gyroids. My first step for this was to start purchasing more furniture from Nooks just to have in storage, because you never really know what items may come in handy as you're figuring out your designs. Though I aggressively wished upon many stars that Tom Nook would finally free me from my crippling debt, unfortunately I still had over 500,000 bells left to pay, so I began to chip away at it in the interest of fully upgrading our house. It was a beautiful summer's night on our second day, and I celebrated it by talking with all our lovely villagers and bumped into Blather's sister Celeste for the first time. I must say that out of all our villagers though, Sherb might be taking the spot of my favorite. Not only do I love his personality and cute little horns, but he also gave me the recipe for spaghetti. And you know how I feel about spaghetti. Most of my time the next afternoon was spent collecting the fruit and fossils to sell and cleaning up the little things cluttering my island, like items, flowers, and these paths to nowhere that have just been sitting here for weeks. On the fourth day, we got our first campsite villager, and I was so excited I immediately headed to check it out. Ugh. Is this Donkey Kong? Ugh! I didn't expect much, I'll be real, and my spirits were lifted upon purchasing this coffee sign, which is gonna work really well for a potential build idea that I have. Not gonna give any spoilers, but I will say that I'm starting to outline specific builds for around different villagers' homes, but as to who, I'll let you make your guesses. After getting all my chores done, I headed home to change my outfit and was promptly interrupted by Fauna. Of course, she gave me a peach, as is customary it seems, but I must say, I'm becoming less a fan of villagers just constantly visiting at random. I've tried turning the lights off, and they still come, so I just find myself making a mad dash for whatever I need when I enter my house to try and avoid it. Is that just me? Is this a common experience? Fauna, I love you, but this is kind of invasive. Assessing and selling fossils was proving to be the most efficient way of making money for me, but it was made severely less effective by my poor self-control. Like, look at this wardrobe. It is so cool looking, right? Don't look at the price tag, don't look at the price tag. I just thought it would look so good in my house, and I did a bunch of rearranging and experimenting with it and ended up making the front room of the house a lot better and more cohesive than it was before. I tried to make it seem like the step wardrobe was a staircase to give the illusion of a second floor, but it didn't work all that well, especially because I couldn't change the color, but I just left it there anyway. I'd even converted my room to the right into a little office space while I figure out exactly what I want to put in there. Having decorated my whole house though, I felt like I needed a break from that sort of stuff, and after hanging out with Marshall for a bit and thinking about some design ideas, I suddenly remembered that Harv's Island existed. Lucky enough, Reese and Cyrus, these two little alpacas, were looking to have their wedding photos retaken, and I was asked to design the backdrop. A horrible decision, really. I basically just filled the place with absurd amounts of flowers, so like, if you have allergies, maybe consider not attending. This was my finished product, and I mean it's not too bad. Now all that was left was to photograph it, but because I put so much time into designing it, I felt like I should be included in the final product, and thus, this was the beautiful picture that was produced. I'm sure they'll cherish it for decades. As I was strolling about Quinoa afterward, feeling all accomplished, I saw that Wolfgang had a thought bubble and figured, oh, maybe he wants me to visit his house, but been thinking about moving on? No! Yeah, I was not expecting that in the slightest, and of course being one of my favorite villagers, I didn't want him to move, but after having a tantrum on the beach and quitting the game out of anger, I reflected and vowed to pay more attention to my villagers in the future. This started with giving them gifts every day, even if they were small, just so they know that I love and value them greatly. I figured my change in perspective and lifestyle should be accompanied by a change in outfit, and coincidentally found one of my favorite items to ever exist. It's a baby hat! Oh my god, I'm so happy! I was truly a new woman, and it was all thanks to my very cute and very tiny hat. I love it so much, oh my gosh. For the rest of the day, I handed out gifts and hung out with all the good villagers on my island. Not you, Al. That's right, walk away, buddy. When I visited Sherb, though, this happened. There's a weird rumor going around. Some folks, they're saying none of this is real. None of it. They say the island is just a game, and everything we say or do is just to amuse somebody else. I dunno, I kinda maybe believe it. So many things would make more sense, you know? Have you ever thought fruit grows way too fast? And ain't it weird that all trees have 3 kinds of wood? And have you ever noticed there's pretty music everywhere? It's great, but it's weird. And does Tom Nook make any kind of sense to you? Okay, that I can level with. It's also obvious. Our lives are fake. We all should have saw it a long time ago. Well, here's an apple. I won't lie, that did shake me up a little, so I headed back to my house to do some relaxing decorating, and not only is the creepy gyroid room almost completely full, but I also got a new flooring and wallpaper for the kitchen that I think look loads better. I am so proud of myself, it looks very orderly and... Wolfgang, seriously? Thank you for the peach, but I just want to be able to stand in my house in peace! This is absurd. If you know how to stop this, please inform me. Peaches really seem to be the hot currency on Quinoa, so I started handing out exclusively peaches the next morning, and as I was collecting more, a beautiful sight graced my eyeballs. Faith wanted to move out. I was not expecting this, but words simply can't express how much joy I felt in that moment. You spread those wings, Faith, you spread those wings. You deserve to be on an island where you're cherished and appreciated. And the day really only got better from there. I found this area up by Marshall's to be a big traffic issue, so I leveled out some of the riverbank and then started the construction of a bridge across it, and I also officially finished my gyroid room. Apart from the path to the bed, I left that there for fire safety reasons. Now, the only thing left to target was my loan, and to be fair, we only had a little over 200,000 bells left, which isn't all that much. I began to double down on collecting all the fruit and shells on the island and selling them to nooks to save up, but lovely and versatile pieces of furniture like this one were making it a tad more difficult. On top of that, Faith was packing up to move on day 12, which meant that it was now necessary to spend all my time grinding nook miles for villager hunting, so the loan payment was on hold. I'd amassed an okay amount of miles since the last time we had an open plot, and after searching through all the quests to see which were most achievable, I really kicked things into high gear. I donated new bugs for miles, I dug up absurd amounts of clams for miles, and I also happened to catch my first shark of the summer. Full disclosure, I've never caught sharks in New Horizons before, and even fuller disclosure, I've always had a bit of a problem when it comes to sharks in Animal Crossing. I just can't control myself, the profits are so high. Yeah, a whole day later and I'd fished up an inventory full of sharks in the hopes of getting miles and finishing my bridge, and I actually got almost 200,000 bells for them all, which is pretty insane. It was also just enough to complete the bridge project, which meant we now had 2 lovely bridges near the farm that made it super easy to travel from the different sides of the island. And just like that, the day came when we would embark on yet another hunt for the perfect Quinoa villager. Ideally lucky, but we're willing to make sacrifices if need be. After spending like 12 years purchasing all my Nook Mile tickets, I hopped on the Dodo Airlines and the adventure began. Now this villager was the first one that made me stop in my tracks a bit. He looked like Wishbone the dog from that really old show, and his name was Bones, which was adorable. But even though he'd fit well on Quinoa and we own pretty much the same Patagonia sweater, I had to make the sacrifice of leaving him behind in the hopes that Lucky would be waiting on one of the other islands. After running into Maddie, the second dog villager of the day, I really started to gain a lot of hope that Lucky wasn't far behind. Like, maybe it was a sign, you know? If it was a dog villager kind of day, he's gotta turn up at some point, right? No, he did not turn up, and I was fresh out of tickets, so defeated, I returned to Quinoa and continued to collect miles for more tickets. I sold weeds, assessed fossils, hit rocks. I even paid off my loan and commissioned the next house upgrade. That's how long I was working on collecting miles. 1.2 million bells? Sweet niblets. The stress was really getting to me, you know? Grinding miles takes a lot of time. But after venting to Brewster and chugging a hot cup of coffee, I got right back to it. Oh my gosh. I really like this villager, Bo. He's so cute. I spent a lot of time deliberating over Bo because he was cute and would fit into Quinoa, and I loved his personality type, but he was also basically the same as Sherb. And I already have Sherb, so with a heavy heart, I said farewell to Bo and continued on my journey. As you can see, I was really starting to spiral into insanity, but still, I persisted into the wee hours of the night searching for that one perfect villager. Oh my goodness. There were some really good villagers too that I had to pass up. Like, I know people like Big Top, but he just didn't fit with my other villagers, and Daisy was cute, but she had that like snooty personality that I'm not all that into. But then, I stumbled upon Bill. And everything was worth it. If you recall, I mentioned in the video for my first month that one of my dreamies was Scoot, this cute little athletic duck. But I honestly like Bill way better than Scoot. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, please forgive me. He is pretty cute, and he also has the athletic personality, but I just like his character design and the way it enhances that personality a lot better. And for those reasons, I invited Bill to move to Quinoa, which genuinely made me very, very happy after such a long day of villager hunting. To top it all off, my house upgrade had finished the next morning, which meant I'd unlocked the upstairs portion of the house. Now, I only had one more upgrade to go before the house was complete and at maximum size. And speaking of houses, as I rolled up to Bill's the next day, I saw that it was the cutest little Lincoln log cabin I've ever laid eyes on, which just made me all the more excited for his arrival. It seems like he has sort of a tatami imperial theme inside the house too maybe, which I'm kinda into. I also met Sahara for the first time on Quinoa and decided to purchase one of each kind of flooring and wallpaper to test out in my house, and although the first two were definitely super ugly, the wallpaper was actually really nice. I'm not sure if I'll end up using it, but I do like the way it looks. In the vein of house decoration, I also realized for the first time that you can change the way the outside of your house looks. I did not know this, but oh my gosh, it's so cool. I probably sat there for like 30 minutes looking at all the house design elements and styles, but I settled on this very cool looking cobblestone rustic type of house. I'm not sure if it'll fit the theme of the island, but I'm genuinely in love with it, so I'll find a way. Now that we'd worked a bunch on the house, I wanted to get back to planning out some design ideas for the main parts of the island, so I crafted up some fences and headed out. My first idea is to have country fences lining the paths and creating these junctures, and then in between them at like the corners and maybe every other 3 on straightaway paths to put some shrubs down just for variation. I thought that would look really nice, and I like the natural shrubs way more than the hedge walls, so I sort of settled on that idea. Once I'd figured that out, I began adding fences along all the paths and also added some fences and pathing around Fauna's house just to try and get a better idea of how I wanted to incorporate it into the theme. I'd been planning on decorating Fauna's house first out of all the villagers, but coming up with the design was proving difficult, and also I have very limited furniture because this is obviously a pretty new island, so I'll be working with what I have. Just the hedges on their own look really bad, but once I add some other greenery like white roses, shrubs, and a sapling, I start to really like the varied natural look. So yeah, I had a better idea of the builds I wanted to do and how they'd all fit together, but I had also somehow amassed a disgusting amount of flowers on the island, so I set out to remove them from around the paths just to make my life a bit easier as I set the fences up. I also got absolutely trolled by this butterfly for like a whole minute straight, and it's maybe the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me in Animal Crossing. I just kept missing and going back and forth across the bridge to try and catch it, but this butterfly was having none of it. Didn't even feel that good when I caught it, just embarrassing from start to finish. After that disaster, I continued to work on Fauna's area, and though I wasn't certain on what I wanted to do, I did know I wanted to have a staircase right in this location just for ease of access to the upper level of the island. So I set one down and paid it off that night. My goal for the next day was to gather some miles and head out on an island tour so that hopefully I could collect some shrubs to use for path decorating. While assessing fossils for Miles, I also noticed I'd gotten a Milocoonmingia, Miloventimiglia? What?
Milocoonmingia.
Oh. Yeah, I would not have gotten that. Regardless of how you say it, it's a type of primitive fish, but in Animal Crossing, because they're so small, the fossil basically just looks like a rock. This gave me the idea to use them for some sort of artificial terrain making, maybe if I combine it with like some other fossils, but I'd have to wait a while to find more, so for the time being, I just set it next to this little waterfall. By that afternoon, I set sail on a cabin tour and was a tad disappointed to find these like neon blue and purple shrubs. I envisioned having the really pretty white flower shrubs for my pathways, but I collected all the blue and purple ones anyway because the thought of wasting 1,000 miles hurt my soul. I'd also thought that they could look nice if I incorporated them into the walls here, and yeah, I'm not super crazy about it. If the colors were more pastel, I'd probably have been a huge fan, but it is what it is. I awoke the next day to the visit of another campsite villager, and wasn't the biggest fan of them either. Sort of the Monique of frogs, if you get what I mean. So, I continued on with handing out my villagers their daily gifts, and Sherb gifted me this pajama dress, which was actually very cute. I really liked it. Unfortunately for Sherb though, the pajama dress stood no chance against the beauty that I spotted in the Able Sisters shop window. The glorious hot dog costume. I immediately raced in there and began to put together the beautiful hot dog outfit of my dreams. The hot dog dress, the ketchup and mustard hat, and orange sandals to match. Truly nothing could stop me now. Except possibly my villagers, cause it appears I'm just not allowed to stand in my own house anymore. Yeah, thanks for the peach. Okay. Again, if there's a way to prevent this, I would love to know. Though I'd already gone on a visit to Harv's Island this month, I realized that I had completely spaced the existence of the little co-op shops. Apparently, now you can open co-op shops on Harv's Island that feature some of our most beloved characters from old Animal Crossing games, like Harriet, Kix, and Katrina from City Folk, Tortimer, which, thank God he's alive, I thought he died or something, Sahara, Leif, and Red, who still come to our island in New Horizons, and Cyrus from New Leaf. Now, there are a couple that I really have my eye on, the first being Leif, because I'm curious to see what plants he'll stock in a co-op. I do need a lot of the same type of hedge, and I don't want to spend Nook miles to get them every season. The other is Cyrus, who I believe can provide more customization options for all the items in the game. Because I'll be getting into some bigger building things in the future, this will be incredibly useful to have and will provide me with a lot more opportunities for utilizing the handful of purchased items that I've collected. For now though, I settled on setting up Leif's co-op, which I'll probably entirely forget about until the end of next month, and put on some adorable tropical clothes to prepare for another cabin tour. Lucky for me, I got the island I wanted and picked up every single one of the bushes, vines, and I even caught this crazy fish. Oh my, why is the sunfish so massive? I was very happy to have gotten the bushes I needed and spent some time that afternoon adding them in front of people's houses and along the pathways throughout the whole island. I left a bit of space above Wolfgang's house though, cause I have some cool plans on how to decorate that area in the future. And after this last month in Animal Crossing, I deserve this cypress bathtub just to relax in. I mean, we got so much stuff done. We decorated a massive portion of the island, went on a huge villager hunt and found Bill, opened a co-op, added some more bridges and stairs, and almost fully upgraded our house. And boy am I proud of that progress. My vision for Quinoa is really starting to take shape in my mind, and I'm actually so excited to start some bigger projects, find more villagers, and show you guys the design ideas that I've been cooking up. For today though, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and if you did, feel free to leave a like or subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you here. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!